showing you some of the most underused and underappreciated devices and building techniques in Fortnite Creative. The first thing I'm going to show you is really great for sculpting. So I'm going to grab a primitive shape here. Now, if I'm sculpting you with this and I place it down and I rotate, you kind of see those different sections here of how it rotates. But if you want to be more precise than that, there's a trick that sculptors use to change their frame rate limit. Right now I'm at 60 FPS, but if I increase that to say 240 FPS, then when I pick this up, place it down and start to rotate this, you'll kind of see how it just behaves differently. Same thing if I went up to unlimited, you'll see then my frames are very strange. You kind of see how it lags behind my character, and it's just a much more smooth interaction here, but it's also very difficult to use. But if you're sculpting, this is something you might want. On the other hand, if you want it to be a little less, go to 30 frames per second. Oh yeah, my screen's crazy. But now I can come in here and it's just a little bit more crisp. Or even if I could go onto like 0 grid snap, you can see I can place things just a little bit differently than the other way. So play around with those settings and you'll become a better sculptor. This next one is very underused, and the reasons it's underused is because of the Sky Dome volume device. Now the Sky Dome volume is really cool, but if you go into your island settings, you have amazing settings here for your lighting. And I feel like these get overlooked a lot. You have so much control over what it looks like, how much fog there is, what the color of the fog is. I mean, you can completely change the feel of your map just using these filters. Like, I'll change this to red, and boom, now we've got a very different feeling map. In addition to those settings, we have these amazing camera filters that people don't use very often. Like we've got our retro here, or low exposure here completely changes the feel of your map. You even got cartoon, which is crazy. Very underutilized. Probably the #1 thing people mentioned on Twitter was the random number generator. Now, I have to admit, I haven't used this since it came out, but this device is insanely powerful. Like if you look at some of these settings, on win transmit on lose transmit on, rolled max transmit on, these settings open up so many possibilities for different game modes you can make. One of the reasons I haven't used this because I'm just not that smart. It takes so much brain power to really get the most out of this device. Next is we have the level instance device here. I also haven't used this very much, but Snownomus showed me how I could be using this better on Twitter. He has programmed different galleries to be in the level instance device that he can then just go and pull them out whenever he wants, pick out the pieces or see the pieces he wants, and then when he's done with it, he just deletes the level instance device instead of having to throw it out like this and then delete all of these things individually. Way more efficient and way more effective. And I would never have thought of that. But other ways to use the level instance device have I not thought of. I still remember when this thing came out. I mean, I love this device. The fact that it follows you around like that is so cool, and that when you have cover, it doesn't see you. And as soon as I pop out, boom, it's got me. Okay, it's so awesome. The settings in it are very similar to a normal trigger, but there's some really powerful differences when it can change depending on if it sees a player or loses sight of a player. There's so much this trigger can do, and I don't know why people don't use it more. So often I set up a trigger like this for people to run through when I could just use a perception trigger so that when it sees me, it triggers that next event. I gotta start using this more. This next one is one I use all the time, but I feel like a lot of people don't know about. So let's say I want to move my robot here over to another location, but I want him to be built perfectly. So the way to do this is to put something on the grid on the ground, and then you copy that one thing, and then you can copy as much of the robot as you need. You know, you can select up to 100 items or whatever. Okay, so let's say that half right there is the selection, and I can point my reticle at this block, and then I put it in my quick bar. You can see now I have my selection, my quick bar down here in the corner. Well, now I can copy this again and copy the other half of this, and maybe I select some of the same things twice. That won't hurt things at all. Okay, I think I got everything on the second half. Now I do the same thing. I point my reticle at this block, and then I copy that. Now I can go to where I want to put it down. Let's say right over here. I pull out my quick bar and I place it down, and you'll see it places the wood piece I had as my anchor before. I'm going to bring out my other selection and make sure those wood pieces line up. You're going to see over on the right side of my screen, you can see the wood piece. I'm going to line them up perfectly and place it down. And look, we've got our robot now perfectly over here. It's a great way to transfer things from one map to another map, or to move things from one side of your map to the other side of your map. Really underused. Okay, this next one is how you resize and use these pieces and what it looks like. So you can see here the texture on this is nice and normal, but if you resize this, so I'm going to make this bigger, you're going to see now you have a little bit of a different texture. Maybe you want something with like a bigger asphalt look, or you can take this and you can resize it down, and you can see now how much more detailed this looks. So you can use this as your road piece instead and have a much more detailed look as opposed to this. Okay, for this next one, I need ketchup, please, to help me demonstrate it. Now, I don't know if this is necessarily useful, but it's definitely underused. Normally, if I want to hit ketchup plays here, I have to be standing pretty close to him. But there's a setting, if you scroll down, called pickaxe range multiplier, and you can increase that up to very large. Now I can hit ketchup plays from quite the distance. See, watch this. Boom! Oh my gosh! Pickaxe range multiplier is one of the most underused and amazing things in the game. This next thing may seem really basic, but it's very underused. So when you pull open your phone options here, you have building as a prop set to off or as original edge or these other settings. When it's set to off, everything snaps to the grid. Here you can see like it goes on the lines. You can't build off of it at all. When you change it to original edge, then when you pick it up, now you can rotate it. You can make it wherever you want. And that is an amazing feature. One of the problems with this though is that people mostly exclusively build in build a prop on as opposed to the build a prop off feature, which snaps to the grid. Now I love build a prop on, but build a prop off helps you build so much faster. My only wish with this is that Epic would add like a quick toggle so you can do build a prop off and build a prop on. So I don't always have to pull this open and then click on this to switch it, because I'm always switching between the two. Since we're talking about build to prop, there's a really cool feature I actually didn't know about for years. So when you rotate or twist or whatever, you kind of get into this funky space, and sometimes you don't know how to get back to the original, but you'll notice over here in the settings, rotation reset hold. I don't know why I never noticed that before, but when you hold down that button, watch what happens. All of a sudden, boom, it resets. Now it's back to its original state. Very useful. This next one has all but been forgotten, but I actually use it a lot, and that's the old timer device. I actually really like this device, but it's been overshadowed by the new timer device, which you can see right here. The nice thing about this timer is it's so easy to use. The bad thing about this is it only goes up to 20 minutes. I wish it got up to at least an hour, but like I said, this is just so user-friendly. I mean, you can just start it and there it goes. It counts down. It's very simple. It has really good trigger settings, and it's just a very straightforward device. Versus this timer device, I just don't really love it. I don't like the way it looks. It's not as user-friendly. Like, it needs major improvements, where I'll want to use this device over this device in like my build competitions or a lot of different things. Now, this next one has to do with the VFX spawner. Now, the actual spawner is used quite a bit, but there's a forgotten thing in here. You'll notice sound effects are actually really good. I have no idea why these are in the VFX spawner and not the sound device. I mean, even like this burn here, listen to that. Like, we don't have fire sounds like that anywhere else. This last one was brought up a lot on Twitter, but it's the Switch device. Now, this device is very powerful. I think most people default to using the button, myself included, but the Switch device is like an advanced button. First of all, you have all these different styles you can choose, like an ancient lever, or even just like a red button. While that's cool, the really cool thing is that you can store the state of the player, so that if this is flipped on, it saves if that's turned on the next time you come into the map. And you'll notice all of these channels down here that are connected to the state of the Switch. Being able to check the state of the Switch, I mean, that is some powerful stuff. While the button is very cool, this Switch is way more powerful. What did I miss? What else is really underused in creative mode? Put it in the comments. I want to know.